Good evening. It's 5:04 p.m. and the regular session of the Planning Commission of the City of Lancaster. Please come to order. Tonight, I will offer the invocation. Commissioner Moore will lead us in the pledge. If you'd all please stand. May we all pray together. Father God, we thank you for the many blessings you have bestowed upon our community of Lancaster. We pray today for our friend and colleague, Christopher Ani, as he begins his new assignment with the Department of Housing and Neighborhood Revitalization. We also pray for Vice Chair Hall and his family. You'll note he's absent tonight. His mother is seriously ill and has been in Antelope Valley Hospital for a few days. We also honor and pray for those serving members of the armed forces. We remember and we are grateful for those who have served, and especially those who have sacrificed their life for the freedoms we enjoy in this great country. Father God, we humbly ask you to help us and guide us in identifying the problems we can rectify in our community. Guide us in our efforts to fairly administer the Planning Commission objectives. Help us to use our time and energy wisely, not to waste it on insignificant matters that benefit no one. Please bless us all to your service. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. May we have the roll call, please?
Commissioners Diana Cook,
Present.
Cassandra Harvey,
Present.
Drew Mercy,
Here.
King Moore,
Here.
Sandy Smith,
Here.
Vice Chair Randy Hall, absent, Chairman James Vose.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Public business from the floor. Any person who would like to address the Planning Commission on any agendized item is requested to complete a speaker's card and give it to the recording secretary and identify the item in which you'd like to discuss. Each person will then be given an opportunity to address the Commission at such time the Commission takes up the item. Speaker cards are available at the rear of the chamber. Individual speakers on an item will be given 3 minutes each. However, applicants have an opportunity to present their case, and once speakers for or against the project have their say, then the applicant would have an opportunity to rebut if they care to. So I'll remind us all of that when we get to each individual agenda item. For the record, tonight, we have received, prior to the meeting and after the initial agenda was published, we received, well, we did not receive 2 items. One, on item number 2, we did not receive an uncontested letter. We did, however, receive on item number 4, A and B, what's called an uncontested letter, and also on item number 6A. An uncontested letter is a letter from the applicant or the representative indicating that they accept all the conditions as recommended by staff. That may not necessarily how an approval or turns out if it is approved tonight, if applications are approved tonight. The Commission has broad authority to make modifications and changes to what staff may recommend. We also received letters on item 4A and B, I believe. Yes. One from Ms. Grubel, one from Mr. Pycha, I believe, P-Y-C-H-A, one for Mr. Hawker, an email actually. and one from Ms. Spruill. We also have items that have been modified once prior or subsequent to the agenda being published. On the agenda, the item regarding shopping carts has been moved to the Commissioner's comment portion of the agenda. Item 3 on the resolution has been an amendment on page 2, and on the conditions, recommended conditions, number 1, 25, and 47 were added. On item 4A, the title of that was not printed correctly. Excuse me, 3 was not printed correctly, and that's been modified. 4A, conditions on page number 6, line items 53 and 54 were added, as well on 4B, the same. And on the sign ordinance proposal, on item 5, a red line proposed amendment on pages 3, 4, 6 are highlighted in yellow. Those items have been shared with the members and have been published. Is there any questions from anyone before we proceed? Anyone need any more time to review anything? No? All right. Okay, first item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of April 16th, 2018. May I have the motion, please?
Move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Anything further? Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. All right, the next item is a continued public hearing. This is on a tentative parcel map number 69578. The public hearing was opened at last meeting. However, due to a publication error of the public notice for this item, it was continued till tonight. So the public hearing is still open, and the recommendation is to grant a one-year extension. Mr. Cervantes, is this yours? No? Whose is it?
This is Brenda's.
Remember to use your outside voice back there.
Good evening, Chairman Boyce and members of the Planning Commission. The item before you is a one-year, one-time extension for tentative parcel map 69578. The project is located on the northwest corner of 37th Street West and Avenue L6. This extension is the last and final extension available. A condition was added to ensure that the first check of the final map must be submitted at least 180 days prior to the expiration date of the tentative parcel map, which means that the applicant would have to submit by September 14, 2018. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission grant a one-year extension to March 15, 2019.
All right, thank you. Since we did not receive an uncontested letter on this, is the applicant or the representative here that can respond to the acceptance of the conditions as recommended? Can't hear you waving. You have to come up here and tell us who you are and respond to our query.
So this has been, my name is Padmanabhan. I have owned this piece of property.
Good afternoon and welcome.
Thank you.
So you've seen the conditions recommended by staff?
I never seen, I had a contractor to complete this project. He said he would complete it in 1 year. I spent the money. He said the map has not been ready. I've been walking up to this office several times to get these things done. It's never been materialized. I'm sorry to tell you that. I have to contact my contractor and find out what is happening. Yes,
So the question is, have you reviewed the conditions as recommended by staff, and do you accept them?
what is the condition? They never gave me any condition.
Tell you what we'll do. Why don't you have a seat? We'll continue this matter until the end of the meeting, and maybe you'll have a chance to speak to staff member and resolve it. Otherwise, we'll have to continue this another month.
I don't know, I never able to meet any of the officials.
That's all right. Why don't you have a seat, and we'll trail this item to the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Okay, we'll take up new public hearings. This is item number 3, so without objection, the public hearing is open on General Plan Amendment 1706, Zone Change 1704, Conditional Use Permit 1727, and Tentative Track Map 78213. The applicant is the Lancaster Housing Authority. Mr. Ani is presenting, I believe,
Chairman
tonight.
Vos, I find it appropriate at this moment to disclose that I am a member of the Lancaster Housing Authority and therefore the applicant, and I therefore recuse myself.
All right, so you'll have to. Thank you. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So Ms. Harvey is recused. We still have a quorum. Mr. Ani.
Good evening, Chair Vos and Commissioners. The Lancaster Housing Authority is proposing an RPD, residential plan development, located at the northeast corner of Division Street and Avenue I. The applicant is requesting a general plan amendment to amend the general plan land use designation for portions of the project site from public to urban residential, a zone change for portions of the project site from public to school, public and school to R7000, a conditional use permit for a subdivision, and a tentative tract map to adjust the property lines for lots 1 through 3 to accommodate fire department access and to subdivide 35 acres into 167 single-family lots and 7 open space lots. Looking at the aerial, there would be an entrance off Division Street, Avenue I, and also 3rd Street East. The location is where the former Antelope Valley Fairgrounds used to be. And in terms of the proposed project, is located within the Northeast Gateway Corridors Plan, which represents the city's long-term goal to improve the area through the provision of new and revitalized commercial, industrial, and residential uses. The proposed project was presented to the Architectural and Design Commission on August 9th, 2017, and was found to comply with architectural and design guidelines. Lots 1 through 3 are being cleaned up and realigned to provide fire department access, and the zone changes for those lots would be adjusted accordingly. A large part of what is zoned public would be changed to R7000 to allow for the 167 single-family lots. The site plan shows the internal circulation, the typical home plotting, and 2 landscape roundabouts, and the trails and open spaces. The rendering shows how the houses would be laid out and their interaction with the street. The houses would include porches. The appearance of the garages would not dominate the streetscape. The architecture includes articulation, varied roof lines, and the rear of the houses would include patios and architectural features that would provide 360 architecture. Again, this slide represents an example of the quality of details that will be provided to the auto courts and a closer look at the typical house plotting and the drought-tolerant landscape. In terms of the findings, the proposed zones are compatible with the surrounding land uses. The residential plan development achieves a greater use of the property by providing housing within the urban core of the city, therefore reducing urban sprawl. The project is surrounded by existing accessible infrastructure and would utilize central facilities and services more efficiently. The project is compatible with the surrounding land uses. The residential plan development meets the goals of the city general plan pertaining to community designs and the objectives to enhance overall community form, create a vibrant sense of place, and improve the city's visual identity by utilizing design standards that instill a sense of pride and well-being in the community. Based on the sample of enhanced architectural elements finalized by the applicant. Detailed, the proposed RPD would ensure the applicant submits elevations that achieve higher architectural standards than what is currently required by not just encouraging architectural enhancing elements, but rather mandating them to go above and beyond what is required by the residential zoning standards. Since private yard space is slightly reduced as a result of the smaller lots, the community would offer open space lots. The applicant would submit plans for those lots and would accommodate decorative plantings, paseos, and trails. The proposed project would not result in impacts to any historic or archaeological resources. However, mitigation measures have been included to address cultural resources in the event that previously unknown ones are identified during construction. Additionally, staff reviewed the final EIR that was prepared for the Northeast Gateway Corridors Plan, which encompassed the project site. In that final EIR, mitigation measures were identified to address impacts from potential hazardous materials sites, including a site listed at 155 East Avenue I. This case was identified as a leaking underground storage tank, but it appears that the specific site has been closed. However, a mitigation measure has been included to require that the applicant show that this case in fact has been closed, and this would only be for the site located at 155 East Avenue I. The proposed project complies with the requested UR designation. It complies with the goals, objectives, and policies of the general plan. The proposed project meets all requirements of the proposed zones and will not adversely affect nearby residences or businesses. The proposed RPD exchanges increased density for the enhanced site design and neighborhood amenities, including open space lots. The density of the development is consistent with the general plan designation of UR. The proposed subdivision meets the city zoning requirements for the R7000 zone, and criteria for the RPD design and sufficient access, utilities, and infrastructure exists to serve the project site. In conclusion, staff is recommending Planning Commission adopt resolution number 1808, approving conditional use permit 17-07, tentative tract map number 78213 for an RPD for 167 single-family lots and 7 open space lots, and adoption of mitigated negative declaration for planning cases CUP 1727, TTM 78213, and recommending to the City Council approval of General Plan Amendment 17-06 and zone change number 1704. And that concludes staff's presentation. Staff is available for any questions.
Thank you. Just for the public's edification, this commission meets typically twice a month, generally the week prior to this meeting, where we meet in this chamber in a public meeting and meet with staff to review the proposed agenda items and individually ask our questions and receive responses. However, we do not deliberate nor do we vote. So when items come before us, there may or may not be questions from individual commission members, mainly because they've already been asked and answered. Or if new items come up, there may be an interchange between staff and the commission, or between the commission and applicants or their representatives or the public. For instance, I pointed out some changes that were provided to us earlier today, which included a question, for instance, on this particular project on the grading and drainage plan. There's 87,000 cubic yards of soil to be imported into this site, 83,000 approximately. Concern was raised at last meeting about hauling methods and how and where that soil might come from. So staff between last week and this week put together an appropriate condition to make sure that the public right-of-way and the product being delivered is safe, and the community and our community infrastructure aren't negatively impacted. So do we have any speakers on this item?
There are no speakers on this item.
No speakers? All right, thank you. All right, members, do you have any questions, comments? No? All right. Mr. Ryan, you talked about the underground, the potential hazard of an underground storage tank that may have been closed. That was part of the old fairgrounds operation, no doubt.
That's correct.
I noticed on the environmental document, there were also other locations noted in the general vicinity that were also closed out.
That's correct.
So, all right. On the landscape plan, I couldn't tell from the detail other than what I guess would be called the common areas and trails. It appears to be artificial turf.
Correct. Those areas, you can see there's some trails and let me see if I can point that out for you. So the artificial turf would be kind of in these areas right here.
So what about the individual homeowners' landscaping? How's that dealt with?
They're gonna be coming in for a typical landscape plan, which is gonna include more drought tolerant landscape. They have to comply with Ordinance 907 for the landscaping, for water efficiency.
So the matter before us is approval of the project in concept as presented, but when an individual developer then acquires a site, because the city is not developing the property, right?
Correct.
Then that individual developer or developers, depending on their appetite, then will come in with plan approval.
There'll be several different plans for probably 4 or 5 different types of landscaping for the different houses, yes.
Very good. And you mentioned this project went before the ADC?
That is correct, August 7th.
Okay. Can you tell us about one of the conditions, it's a condition, one of the requirements for the ultimate users of these homes would be folks that are qualify for extremely low, very low, low and moderate income households. Can you comment on that, what that means?
Sure, I will defer that to the housing director.
Your new boss,
That is correct.
Hi,
Ms. Brubaker, welcome.
thank you. There are affordability covenants, conditions, and restrictions that are recorded on the individual homes, as the homeowners have to meet the requirement of being income qualified, and they will remain affordable for 45 years. The longer the individual stays in the home, we have equity sharing, so that the longer they stay in, they get more equity, so they're still able to move on and move up and continue to get rewarded for wealth of owning a home.
So the qualifying users would be similar to the project we recently considered at
On Avenue I.
Sierra and I?
Yeah, exactly.
Very good, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, anything further from anyone? All right, then, without objection, we'll close the public hearing and consider a motion. I would, actually, 4 motions.
Well, what if I just move staff recommendation?
You don't want to read it all? All right, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve the recommendation as written. Anything further? Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
5-0. With
I'm sorry, 5-0,
Commissioner Harvey recused.
with 1 recusal.
All right, thank you. All right, the next item before us is item number 4, A and B. This is a new public hearing on General Plan Amendment 1701, Zone Change 1701, and Conditional Use Permit 17-11. So without objection, we will open the public hearing, and I have some explaining to do so you all understand the process. You'll notice from the agenda there are two items, item 4A and item 4B. At the December 18, 2017 Planning Commission meeting, Planning Commission took up two items, a general plan amendment and zone change in a separate action, which was approved on a vote of 4-2. And we took up conditional use permit 1711, which was not approved on a split vote of 3-3. Subsequent to that, the applicant filed an appeal to the City Council. The City Council heard the matter in February of this year and referred the matter back, referred the project back to the City Planning Commission. So, since that time, with the City Attorney's Office, we've reviewed the process of how we may reconsider either the entire project or only the conditional use permit. To consider the entire project, a motion would have to be offered and approved by a majority present to rescind the action of December 18th, so we may hear all three items at once and vote on all three items at once. If a motion that type is offered and voted upon, then that's what we'll do. If that motion is offered and failed, then we will take up item 4B. However, for our purposes tonight, we will take public comment on both items because that's the way it's agendized. And at the end of those public comments and the staff report, as well as the applicant's presentation and the applicant's rebuttal, then we will make a determination on how we're going to hear these items for voting purposes. I hope that's clear to everyone. All good? All right. So, without objection, this public hearing is open, and we'll hear the staff report. I'm assuming with all the folks that are here that look like a whole lot of the same people that were here in December, look very familiar. Welcome back, as well as the applicant and their representatives. We'll hear from you at the end, as soon as the staff report's over with. Ms. Campana?
Good evening, Chairman Vos and members of the Planning Commission. This item before you is for a proposed commercial development located at 1966 West Avenue L. The overall project is for a general plan amendment, zone change, and a conditional use permit. It will amend the general plan land use designation of the subject property from non-urban to commercial and change the zone from rural residential 2.5 to commercial plan development. The approval of the general plan amendment and zone change would allow for the commercial development. The request for the conditional use permit is for the car wash facility in the mini mart to allow for the sale of alcohol with an ABC Type 20 license, with a waiver from distance requirements. The whole project includes a 3,000 square foot mini mart, a 3,825 square foot gas island canopy, a 1,596 square foot car wash facility, a 1,680 square foot oil and lube facility, and a 2,648 square foot commercial pad for a drive-through restaurant and retail services. The subject site is located on the southeast corner of Avenue L and 20th Street West. There is currently a single-family residential home that includes a garage, shed, a wood frame structure, and a metal barn. Here is a picture of the existing condition. This is the single-family home if you're going along Avenue L. As you see, there are dead and dried plants, and it's not well maintained. This is a photo of the subject site along 20th Street West. There's overgrown plants, and there are no sidewalks or street improvements. This is the metal barn along 20th Street West. It's a dilapidated building, as you can see, and it's an unkempt. Here is a timeline and the background history for this project. So on December 18, 2017, the Planning Commission approved the GPA and zone change by a 4-2 vote. And the CUP recommendation had a split 3-3 vote, ultimately denying the CUP request. The applicant then files an appeal for the Planning Commission's action on December 20th. The City Council held a public hearing on the appeal and was voted to defer the decision back to Planning Commission for review and reconsideration. The council also advised that the applicant would conduct a community meeting and that the project go to the Architectural and Design Commission for review. The community meeting was held on April 3rd, 2018, and the project was heard by the ADC on May 3rd, 2018. The community meeting, there was approximately 20 people who attended, with a combination of community members who were in support and in opposition. The community members voiced their concerns, and they included the proximity of the project to residential uses, traffic, and air quality. On May 3rd, it was heard before the ADC. The ADC did approve the design of the proposed development subject to conditions. The conditions were to add more landscaping trellises, implement enhanced landscaping, and provide molding around the bay entrances. This is the proposed site plan. As part of their project, they were required to build street improvements, curb, gutter, street lights, street trees, sidewalk, landscape median on 20th Street West, and a Class 2 bike lane, and all utilities would be underground. The car wash facility and oil and lube facility and mini mart would be located on the southerly portion of the subject site. The gas canopy would be located on the northerly portion of the subject site, and the commercial pen on the east. The building south of the site would have a 36-foot setback from the south residential property line and over 32 feet on the east residential property line. The commercial pad is 25 feet away from the residential property line, and the adjacent residential properties would also have a minimum 11-foot landscape setback and a minimum 6-foot tall block wall. Highlighted in green would be the enhanced landscaping that the ADC conditioned as part of their project. This is the proposed floor plan. The sale of beer and wine requires a CUP and the request for a waiver from distance requirements. The mini mart and gas station would be open 24 hours a day, but the sale of alcohol would be open only between 7 and 10:30. Only 5% of the sales floor area would be dedicated to beer and wine, and the applicant would also comply with the list of standard conditions from the alcohol ordinance for off-sale beverage establishments. Also, the shopping center north of their property previously had a Type 21 ABC license. The proposed project would not increase the number of alcohol uses within the area because it would place the previously obtained Type 21. The Type 20 is a more restrictive license, only allowing beer and wine, as opposed to the Type 21, which allows for beer, wine, and spirits. The elevations of the mini mart, oil and lube facility, and car wash facility has gone through revisions in regards to architectural design and elements. As you can see, the first submittal on the left there were no color elevations or any real detail. The second submittal, they implemented different roof levels, implemented awnings, and they added cornices. This is the end project. They added a balance to the building by moving the vacuum tower in the middle, implemented lampposts and added landscape trellises, and utilizes stacked stone columns. In addition, the Architectural Design Commission conditioned the project to add additional landscaping trellises to the rear and side elevations, as well as adding molding to the bay entrances. The red rectangles show where the recommendations would be located on the building. The elevation of the commercial pad includes similar materials and colors of the other proposed buildings. They use stacked stone awnings and lampposts throughout the building. The Architectural Design Commission also conditioned this building to add landscaping trellises on the north and east elevation, which are highlighted in the red boxes. The gas canopy also implements stacked stone and stucco on the columns of the canopy to create consistent design of the overall project. The wall has been changed due to residents' concerns during the community meeting. The perimeter wall is now a split-face block wall with wall caps and columns. There would be pilaster every 25 feet of the wall. Also, to address some of the concerns of the community members, the applicant has added shrubs along the south and east of the property to help buffer the residential properties and the proposed project. The shrubs would grow up to a minimum of 10 feet tall and could potentially grow up to 20 feet. Also, a photometric plan was submitted by the applicant. A photometric plan shows the light output over a given area. The photometric plan ensures no light is being trespassed on the neighboring residential properties. In conclusion, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt the resolution, adopt a mitigating negative declaration, and approve the proposed project. Staff and the applicant are available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Campana. Any questions before we hear from the applicant? All right. From the applicant, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Would you be Jeff Little?
Yes, sir, Chairman.
Look familiar?
My prayers go to...
Welcome back.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. And my prayers go to the Hall family, Vice Chair, Commissioners. I'm here to answer any questions that anybody will have, and I'm sure there's going to be a few. We started this project a little over a year ago, and it's been an ongoing thing, and we've looked at a center similar that started a project a lot of you may know on 30th and L, and we looked at setbacks and considered setbacks to be a major concern for a project of this magnitude as far as 2 acres. To the south, we're looking at a setback of minimum of 36 feet up to 46 feet on the south perimeter, and prior to that, the same to the eastern side too. We looked at this layout and came to the architectural design, and with their input and everything that they suggested, we're in agreement with everything that they proposed. We added trellises and a lot more green belt and other trees to the rear part of the project. So I'm here to answer any questions that will be brought up and anything else that might.
All right, thank you. Anyone? You sat down before I could ask you a question.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, sir.
The architectural design guidelines for the city of Lancaster for projects of this nature, gas stations, which I'm assuming the primary source of revenue is the sale of gasoline. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So the architectural guidelines for this type of a project call out that the building be sited at the corner for screening purposes, that the station be architecturally consistent with the project site, that all facades are articulated, materials would be long-lasting, and screening the gas pumps from public way by placing the buildings and the landscaping adjacent to the street. The site plan that's presented does not do that. So can you comment on that, please?
Yes, I can. looking over the history of areas throughout the Antelope Valley, there's a couple of them that bring up to mind on Division and J, when that concept was brought up, where Division and J is a classic example of having everything brought to the front of the property, and I think it's on Palmdale Boulevard and 10th Street West. Same type of concept, where they brought to the corner and tried to put the gasoline facility in the middle. Those centers are classic examples that never worked. Number one, and a couple reasons why is the flow you cannot see coming where you're coming from as far as either direction. You have a corner that's blocked off to the canopy. In this particular case, if something like this was designed, your lighting would be shining towards your easterly residents and your southern residents. Plus, the sheriff's department, they do not like those type of facilities. They'd like to be able to
But
drive.
Mr. Little, these are our design guidelines. This is what the city has on the books.
It's,
So are you saying, as the applicant's representative, that the plan was never submitted in conformance with the guidelines?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that, that the plan that we have in front of you now is a more cohesive design. I think it works better.
But the answer to the question is you did not conform to the design guidelines.
Well, I think that's the whole purpose of, if we looked at the ones that we've put into place.
Let's just take a minute. Ms. Campana, could you bring up page 90, whatever 2 it is, 92, I think, on the design guidelines which reflect the site layout that the Architectural and Design Commission worked so hard on for quite a while? And if you notice, the site plan on the right depicts the layout of the building and then the gasoline island canopy area. And if you'll notice from the, also from the depiction of the 4 different types of cornice treatments, those are our design guidelines.
My comment? Yes, sir. And on a peripheral loop,
The what?
on a peripheral loop, which I consider as a high speed, or which you want to slow speed down, having buildings back to the front or to the side is considered dangerous.
So you're saying that our design guidelines
I'm saying in
Are
this particular
inappropriate?
location, yes, sir.
and this particular site is more conducive to a 1930, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 2000, 2010 layout. The kind I used to build, the kind you and I used to operate in, those?
Conducive or better, or, I mean,
That
the ones
your layout is better than what the Architectural and Design
I think the
Commission came
layout
up.
on a peripheral loop, when it comes to exposing the center of any type of retail operation, whether it's gasoline or anything else, keeping buildings to the corner is dangerous. Yes, sir, I do. I do. And I do, and I agree with you, and we're talking, when we constructed these type of units years and years ago, we're talking a $3.5 million project that does a lot of studying, a lot of photometric lighting now, and all the things that concern that corner.
Okay.
And so we had to take into consideration residents too, sir.
On the site plan, the canopy treatment is not articulated in conformance with the remainder of the buildings. There's some reason for that?
The canopy itself is a Chevron USA canopy. We structured the columns to be the brick and
Is
stuff.
there any reason why the canopy wasn't articulated to conform to the building?
Chevron's guidelines, that was being the extra mile guidelines.
They may not be our guidelines.
Could be, sir. Yes, sir.
Matter of fact, they are not our guidelines. Our guidelines require all facades to be articulated. Okay, thank you. Ms. Campana mentioned that the rear wall, side walls would be split-face block. However, the revised landscape plan calls for 24-inch box shrub, which will, for all intents and purposes, will block and cover split-face block. So, Ms. Campana, why would we be wanting to put split-face block into the interior and then cover it with landscaping so you can't see the articulation of the split face?
So the wall is also for the residents. They wanted more of a
Well, you can get
nicer
split
wall.
face on one side and sheer on the other. All right, we have speakers.
Yes, we do. The first speaker is Shannon Santa Maria.
Ms. Santa Maria, welcome.
Thank you, Commissioners and staff, for your time tonight.
You can use your outside voice too.
Oh,
Just
sorry.
pretending you're talking to the kids.
Those I have. Thank you for your time tonight. I am a resident on Avenue L4, around 1600 block. And a couple things about this. The mention of 30th Street and L being the similar situation. Those residents didn't have 2.5 acre parcels, so they weren't quite as outdoorsy. I apologize for my casual appearance. Before coming, I was helping my son learn how to clip chicken wings. Like the feathers, so they wouldn't fly into our neighbors' yards. That's the kind of lifestyle we have on Avenue L4, which backs up. The backyards of residents on L4 back up onto this project. It would also back up to where horses reside, and there's goats and sheep and there's donkeys, and they take their carriages and they go up and down the street and they give the kids rides. That's the environment that we live in. We don't live where, even Rouse couldn't hang in there. That whole other area on the other side of L is vacant. Nobody is stopping there. This is a high-speed intersection. It's known to be extremely dangerous. When there is an accident there, they are most often epic. They're huge accidents. It's high speed. We don't need more people trying to cut in quickly to a gas station or cut in quickly to grab a snack or whatever, quick car wash. The other thing is we live, because of the openness of the fields, we have one house on 2.5 acres. We chose to put our family of 7 into a 1,700 square foot home 18 years ago because we wanted the land and the space for them to be able to be outdoors, and at nighttime we can see the stars. Have you ever left the city and gone to the mountains and you see, oh, there's so many stars? You know what? We have that many stars in Lancaster. We just don't get to see them because the lights are coming up from everywhere. And we noticed a huge decrease when Costco came in and their lights and their gas station and their car wash. And yeah, it's convenient, I get it. But you know what? I would rather drive 5 more minutes than have to be listening to. We would sit out there and have breakfast or dinner outside, and the neighbors would come and we'd sit in the front yard and I'm just gonna sound so hick here, but we would have watermelon seed spitting contests out there in the yard. And now all of a sudden, you're laughing, all of a sudden we can hear the car wash from Costco kick on. And that's not a noise that you want. And I'm just asking that you would really consider that this would infringe on a lifestyle of the people that live around this intersection. It's not just about, the city being able to handle it and the need for gas. This is not an area that people come to shop or do anything. They're not going to be like, oh, I'm going to the market, let me get gas too. This would be the only thing in that area because we're out there growing chickens and goats and things like that. So I think that safety is a huge issue, and I'm done. Have a good night. Thank y'all.
Thank you for your comments. Another speaker, please.
Tony Stubbins.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your name clearly. Stubbins?
I'm sorry, I may have mispronounced it. Tony Stubbins.
Yes, sir.
Stubbins.
Yes.
Welcome.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? Hi, I live over with my girlfriend over at 20th Street West and Avenue L. We have horses. We have a few dogs, and the same thing as the lady said. It's a lifestyle we chose, and we like it. That stuff that's going in, the gas station, everything, that just impacts everything around there. We chose the same thing, the same type of lifestyle. Ralph's and everything over there, I was going to mention the same thing. Everything is there's only, I think, two things over there. There's a smoke shop and a pizza place or something. And that's the only thing in existence over there. So how do they think this is going to work for the gas station, a car wash? And people don't like this intersection either because it is fast. I've got hit myself in this intersection about 10 years ago. And people just run through here. The lights, all of that, it bothers me. I like to still live the simple life, ride my horses, feed my dogs, and whatever else we're doing over there. This to me sounds really kind of crazy. It won't work. I don't think people will buy it. I don't buy it. So that's all I have to say, sir.
All right, thank you for your comments. Another speaker, please.
Bert Patterson.
Burl Patterson.
Oh, I'm sorry, Burl Patterson.
It's okay. It's not a problem.
Good evening, Burl. Welcome.
Called a lot of things in my lifetime. So Bert's okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, Burl Patterson. My family came here in 1941. Lived here in Lancaster when Lancaster was only about 2 blocks long. And that was the most pavement you had, plus Sierra Highway. And so I've seen it develop, and I've seen what Jim has talked about here. But if you go around and look at some of the stuff, I'm in favor of this project. And I also own the southwest corner of Hill and 20th also. But when you take, the city laid out a peripheral loop so we get across town both directions. They created that to create a heavy traffic flow. And that's what you've done, and it is heavy. And I think you ought to have the conveniences for the people that travel that highway and use it the way you intend it to be used. So, yeah, I'm very much in favor of it. And the designs, is that design up there, is that just for service stations or is that for everything you build?
It's for gas stations.
Just gas stations. So these other buildings that are built right on the corner and stuff, is that part of the design?
The way the architectural design guidelines are written, the siting of the main building is close to the corner, and the gasoline islands would be centered in the center of the site.
I really never paid attention to this here because this is the first time I've ever come to one of these meetings where
you can come anytime you want, Burl.
I know.
We like seeing you.
Be here. Anyway, if you go down the streets, if you go down to Los Angeles, when they built Los Angeles, and you're looking for a building, and you're trying to find an address, they're all built right out on the street so you can't see anything. So, you know, you're having people back up and honk and go on. And that's the design, that's the old design. And I think being able to see through a corner where you don't have buildings right on the corner is a better way to open up a corner or open up any commercial. Set it back where people have a chance of seeing where they're going without this high-speed traffic going back and forth. So, you know, I'm in favor of it. I think they've done a great design. I think Chevron has done a great job, and so thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. We have another speaker, please.
Lorraine Shum.
Hi, I'm Lorraine Shum. How are you?
Good evening. Welcome back.
That was my landlord, who I'm very thankful to everything he's done for me, and he's very kind to me. And I love the home that I rent on 20th West Chanel, and you know, I'm respectful that he's the owner, and but I really love, you know, I'm very thankful that Mr. Patterson has allowed me to have my horses there and my dogs, which are licensed and everything, and of course my horses have their vaccinations and everything, and I just really love my lifestyle. I love that home, and I take good care of it because you know, I never really had the money to afford a down payment since throughout my life, you know, but my business is getting more successful, and I'm thankful to him. But the thing is about the gas station is that it's going to really disturb my peace and the vibe of the neighborhood, which is White Fence Farms, and the ranch lifestyle that the First Lady was speaking about. And, that's why I really wanted to come out to Lancaster. My business is in Van Nuys, because I really wanted to have a horse. And I'm living my dream. And, the way I have my arena set up and everything, it's safe. So even if they do install the gas station, my animals are safe. They're not going to run out on the road. I have electric fencing with, horse corrals and everything, very safe with the double chain link and everything. So, but the thing is disturbing my peace when I'm trying to rest and things like that. And that's really what I'm concerned about, accidents and traffic safety, and also polluting the ground, because everybody's on a septic tank over there, because it is my home, and the neighborhood in general is an older neighborhood. My home, I believe, was built in the 40s. And I just pray that the council will deny this, the proposal of the gas station. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. We have another speaker.
Roy Joe Collins.
Mr. Collins, welcome.
Good evening. Roy Collins. I live at 20th Street, just 3 houses down. Any of you guys ever been out there on 20th and L and seen the cars come by? You got a posted speed limit there. I'm afraid to walk across the street. Afraid I'll get run over. Seen too many bad wrecks there. I'd like to know from you, planning commissioners, why you change. You told the previous owner he couldn't make an entryway on 20th Street because it's too much traffic. I don't know why that happened, but now you can give this man his entryway on 20th Street. I'm amazed. We've been through this thing, I think 3 times, once with the council. I'm like everybody else around the neighborhood. Just a citizen trying to get by, and Lancaster's supposed to be a nice thing. You guys are supposed to take care of the public. I believe that's what you're supposed to do. I totally believe that. Just like I trust in God, just like it says over there. I'm beginning to wonder about the city council and you too. Why can't we trust somebody to do what the original plans is supposed to say in there? It wasn't commercial. It's not supposed to be commercial. People live out there, enjoy the country-like life. We're not city slickers like I guess you are. I don't understand it. Nobody understands it, I don't believe. But we would like some answers from you. Why does it take so long? How many people do we have to bring in here to say that we don't want that in our neighborhood? Do you understand that, all of you people? We don't understand it. Thank you a whole bunch, man. Most of the time you do a good job. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments. As I pointed out, I may not have pointed out to you all, once all the speakers have an opportunity to address the commission and the applicant as well as anyone else, including our members, we will respond as we choose, when we choose. Next speaker, please.
Audie Grubel.
Ms. Grubel, welcome. And we got your letter.
As I mentioned in my letter, well, first of all, I've lived here in Lancaster 61 years, and 50 of those in White Fence Farms. I was the secretary of the White Fence Farms Homeowners Association for about 27 years. So, and that was during the time when we formed because the city was adopting the county's general plan, which had White Fence Farms at 1 acre. We wanted the 2.5 acres. So we applied for a general plan amendment. But the city hadn't formed their rules for the general plan, for changing the general plan amendment. So we helped the city change the rules for the general, or form the rules for the general plan amendment. And we did amend the general plan at that time back to 2.5 acres. And we have maintained that we want to keep it that way forever. And ensuing planning commissions and city councils have agreed with us. We're still wanting to be reigned 2.5 acres. And we have also resisted any commercial development in our neighborhood, and especially something like this gas station and car wash and liquor dispensing or alcohol dispensing facility. We feel there's no need for this. During the time that we were trying to amend the general plan, we found that one of the rules for considering it a change was, is there a need? And we feel there is no need for a service station. You have Costco on the corner of L and 10th Street, and you have 2 service stations on the corners of Avenue M and 10th Street. You have a service station on the corner of 20th and K, and one at 40th and L. So I don't see a need for a gas station, to be honest. And also, I'm also concerned about the safety, because the cars do go through that intersection fast. If you've ever sat there in the left turn lane, the cars go by so fast that your car rocks. So I feel that cars going in and out, well, it'll be a dangerous situation. And just a month ago, we were going through the intersection there where there was an accident between a motorcycle and a car. That's been just a month ago. So, I don't know, I ask the same question that I asked in my letter. Is it worth ruining the tranquility and the value of the place that is what Lancaster used to be, to put in a gas station, car wash, and mini market? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Grubel. Do you have another speaker?
Danny Myers.
Mr. Myers, welcome.
I lived the same thing on 3rd Street and Avenue I. I lived on 3rd Street, right behind Davie High School. Gas station, 7-Eleven went on the corner, I and 3rd Street. Wake up in the morning with people passed out on your lawn. Lots of thefts started. I left there because of it. And now you're doing the same thing to me over here. It's going to cause the same problems. I work hard. All the people in White Fence Farms work hard and support you people. And I supported the people on 3rd Street. This is the last time if that happens, there's going to be a lot of people leave your town and you're going to lose revenue. So I ask that you stop this gas station and support the people that support you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do you have another speaker?
Bob Carbo.
Mr. Carbo. Been a long time. Welcome.
Sorry for my appearance. I've been out front of the house trying to fix the sprinklers. A little muddy. I live at 1726 West Avenue L. 3 or 4 houses just down from this proposed project. I've lived there pushing 30 years, I suppose. Seen a lot. But like the other folks here, the rural lifestyle that we have enjoyed since we've been there, that's why we moved there. We love it. And this will change the rural lifestyle, and I'll explain to you what I'm talking about. First of all, I am opposed to this, officially on the record. along with a lot of other folks. But it doesn't make, White Fence Farm was formed somewhere in the 1950s, if I'm not mistaken. And it's been, ever since then, it's been sacred ground for people who want to live on a plot of dirt, 2.5 acres, one residence, rural lifestyle. We raise chickens, we raise goats, we raise cows. Probably somebody's got an elephant in there someplace, I don't know. But the point is, this gas station, think about this for a second, the safety aspect. They talk about it over and over and over again. I look out my front window and I sit on my front porch and I watch, they leave 20th Street and heading toward the freeway. I'm about halfway, about a quarter of a mile. These cars, more often than not, and motorcycles, my God, reaching 80 to 100 miles per hour passing my house. Now, I can visualize those same people stopping at the gas station, fueling up their car, grabbing a six-pack to fuel their bodies. Now they're going to take off from there, and they're going to head for the freeway. And there's going to be even more folks metal to the metal, if you will. It's just going to, and it's going to be crazy. Yeah, there's a lot of accidents on that corner, and the sheriff department knows it. The sheriff department has done virtually nothing to enforce the traffic rules in that area. We all can attest to that too. And it's only going to get worse. Okay, we got that out of the way. The safety aspect. Let's talk about the water for just 1 second. Our water company has said they've approved of giving them water. During this last drought, we had no water problems. Our water company was doing a good job. We were not in a drought. We had no restrictions. This place is going to suck up water from us, the residents in that area. And it looks like my time's up. I got about 30 minutes worth of stuff here, but oh well. Quick suggestion. Kick the can down the road. Let another 15, 20 years go by and let somebody else worry about it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Carville. Do you have another speaker?
Eugenie Tro.
Evening and welcome.
Good evening, and thank you for your welcome. Good evening, commissioners and staff. My name is Eugenie Tro, and I teach at Antelope Valley College. I teach in the math department, and I have had conversations with my colleagues, and I'd like to talk about cancer and inhaling gasoline fumes. According to the National Institutes of Health, prolonged and intentional aspiration of gasoline fumes causes serious and potentially permanent lung damage. Gasoline is dangerous for your health because it's toxic. Exposure to gasoline through inhalation can cause major health problems. The effects of this poisoning can harm every major organ. Gasoline fumes have health consequences that can last for years. The long-term health effects including excessive short-term exposures to breathing gasoline fumes and vapors are well documented. These health effects include damage to the nervous system, dizziness, respiratory irritation. Very high exposure can even cause coma and death. Therefore, it's best to avoid breathing gasoline fumes. Gasoline also contains poisonous chemicals called hydrocarbons. Despite all the modern health and safety guidelines they must follow, gas stations can still pose significant hazards to neighbors, especially children. The National Institute of Health and Medical Research study determined children who live next to a gas station are 4 times more likely to develop acute leukemia than other children in the same area. Several of the chemicals being released from gasoline are the big 3, benzene, toluene, and xylene. Benzene is a known cancer-causing chemical, according to the National Institutes of Health. The long-term health effects of exposure to benzene is with blood cells. It causes harmful effects to bone marrow, causing a decrease in red blood cells, which leads to anemia. In addition, The International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies benzene as carcinogenic to humans based on sufficient evidence that benzene causes acute myeloid leukemia. This group also notes that this exposure has been linked with acute lymphocytic leukemia, chronic lymphocytic leukemia, multiple myeloma, and non-Hodgkin lymphoma. The American Conference of Governmental Industrial Hygienists recommends a threshold limit value of 0.1 parts per million for benzene, that's in the air. Toluene exposure includes irritation of eyes and nose, weakness, exhaustion, confusion, and it can cause liver and kidney damage. The main effect of inhaling xylene vapor is depression of the central nervous system with symptoms such as headaches, dizziness, nausea, vomiting. These efforts can begin to occur with exposure to air of about 100 parts per million. In addition, the Environmental Protection Agency's Integrated Risk Information System and the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry toxicological profile for xylenes states inhalation or exposure can result in tremors, respiratory and cardiovascular disorders, along with kidney damage. Now, 100 parts per million, that's the limit. So I recommend you make a zone of death so that nobody lives within the 100 parts per million, or limit the amount of gas.
Thank you, Ms. Stroh. Do you have another speaker, please?
Richard Sim.
Mr. Sim, welcome back. And before you start,
Thank you.
how did the sale go?
Wonderful.
Did? Good.
Thank you. At the school, yeah, we raised nearly $2,000 with the students at
Super.
Antelope Valley College. Yeah, my name is Rich Sim, and I've lived at the current right across from where supposedly, hopefully not, the gas station would be. When I see small children come out of the houses of our neighbors, I'm wondering if they're going to be next. It's beyond belief that we should have in a residential area where children live, especially 4 times, just think, 4 times the people who live next to a gas station compared to the other children living in our neighborhood. That is what really struck my mind about this. I see when you have your little signs out, you want your election, and you always mention, most, not all, but many of you, safety. Gas station is unsafe for children. And I'm wondering how many people leave their machine, their car, running during the time they're pumping their gas. When you unfasten, especially when it gets 100 here, and you take off your gas cap and it goes whoosh, that's what's coming loose, is the cancer-causing elements. I have a copy of what those 3 elements that Jeannie Troll mentioned. And if you'd like a copy of that, and all the sources that it came from. This is not made up in our minds. This afternoon, I talked to Erica. She's from North Carolina. She's working in the theater department. She lived right next to the gas station between the ages of 4 and 12. During that time, she got this exposure, and when she was 22, she came down with cancer. So she's still alive, and she's doing well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sim. Do you have another speaker?
Shelley Hurl.
I didn't hear the last name, I'm sorry.
Shelley Hurley.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I live I too was with my horses and ran over here after I fed. I bought there also because of the rural lifestyle. Bob hit it right. You know, I live next door to him, and we've just had a really good relationship. And all of the neighbors there have dealt with Avenue L and the way it's changed during the years and gotten, you know, faster, and, you know, we've accepted and we've accepted and we've accepted. There's a time where it has to end. My husband's a land surveyor for LA County, and he just, you know, I really wanted him to come, but he could not, because he gets up at 3 a.m. But he just, you know, wants to convey that he's a chief land surveyor for LA County, and it should not go through for all the reasons that everyone mentions here. There's no need. There's car washes all over. We have plenty of car washes, even the mile one that's just down the street on K. So to put one where it's been one of the nicest places to board my horse, that's convenient for a man to get on the freeway and go work down below at Alhambra, is it's very hard to find. So, you know, that's that's our feeling about it. That's the reason why we bought there, and it's just and there's plenty of other places to build this project, and we don't need another gas station. That's about all. Everyone else has touched on everything that's important here, but it's just the White Fence Farms, I really feel, is going to be the Griffith Park of Burbank. Do you want that? Is what you have to ask yourself. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Other speakers?
There are no speaker cards.
All right, thank you. The applicant care to, or the representative care to offer any rebuttal?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. All the concerns that everyone's brought up are concerns that we've heard of a growing community here in the Antelope Valley. Avenue L is.
Excuse me, Jeff, just one moment. Pardon. We're going to take a short recess. We have let me just tell you what we have. We have technical difficulties with web streaming. The system, our video system is recording, but we broadcast live for the general public, which is important to our city. So we're going to take a short recess, see if we can get the system back up, and then we'll bring you back. All right?
You got it, sir.
Thank you. We'll take a short recess. Please take your seats. We'll get started.
Hi, Ms. Campana. One of my questions is this still considered a peripheral loop?
I can take that question actually for you. The peripheral loop was abandoned when we adopted the master plan of complete streets. What that does is it sizes the streets appropriately to a 2035 traffic model. So the peripheral loop no longer exists in the form that it once did.
So that ended, I believe, in 2009, correct?
No, the master plan of complete streets was adopted in 2017 at the December council meeting.
I'm talking about the original peripheral loop. Did that end in the general plan amendment 2009?
No, just recently.
In our study session last week, I had some questions of the staff, and I think it's important that I'd like to restate some of these questions. I know that there was a community meeting, and Ms. Campano, about how many people attended that meeting, and how many people from the community were for the project and against?
So there was approximately 20 people at the community meeting, and I would say approximately people for the project, there were around 7 or 8, but the majority were in opposition.
And then also a question for Larissa or our city attorney. Oftentimes we see on a project a recommendation made by the staff. My question is whether the staff recommends or doesn't recommend, how do you go about recommending or not recommending, and who all is involved in that process, from elected to commissions to staff? Who's involved in it, and how do you come up with a recommendation or not a recommendation?
Sure, Commissioner Cook, I can answer that. The recommendation is based on the staff's ability to make findings. Each project is managed by a project planner, and that individual is responsible for gathering the data, doing the research, evaluating the plans, ensuring compliance with our municipal code, with our general plan, so on and so forth. Once the project planner makes the analysis, they then put together their staff report and identify all of the findings, put together conditions of approval that would mitigate any potential impacts to the project, and it's based on the data and the research. So staff does not incorporate any personal opinion in the matter. It's all based on data and the research that's gathered based on their professional evaluation of the project.
So is the recommendation made only by the staff of the planning department, or any other people involved, elected, non-elected, outside commissions, internal commissions, other than data? I understand that everything is derived off of your data and your research.
That's correct. The staff puts together the presentation, the staff report and the evaluation and recommendation. The other individuals that are involved are our legal counsel. So our staff reports are in fact reviewed by our city attorneys, as well as our director and our colleagues in engineering, to evaluate every single component of our project. But elected officials and commissioners are not involved as part of the evaluation process. The only time that our commissioners are involved is only when the items are being presented to you for an action item, as we are here tonight.
Thank you. And so you will all also understand, we are not elected. This Planning Commission, we are appointed. We are not elected. I heard somebody make a reference to supporting us, or a reference as if we were elected. We're not elected. We each take an oath of ethics. It's individually all of our responsibilities to do our own research, our own homework, listen to public testimony, and draw our own conclusions. Those are individual decisions. We don't confer with each other for that. It's done basically, for me, it is for all of the good of the community. I try to take my personal opinion out of it, and friendships are hard, because there are a lot of people that come in front of us that are our friends, and we still have to be objective and vote on that. We have to take friendship out. I have nothing but respect for Mr. Little, known him for a long time, but all decisions, whether we vote yes or we vote no or what have you, is based on our own decisions, and it's a business or a planning commission decision. It's not a friendship division, so I really want that very clear. Let's see, what else did I want to ask? We do follow the Architectural Design Commission. They have their own guidelines they follow. We also follow the general plan. Sometimes it might have to do with how many gasoline stations or alcohol, beer and wine are within a certain geographical area. We look at that because that is stated for us. So we look at many different components when we vote on something. How many already exist? Is there a need for additional? What would the need be? So those are things we have to weigh. And I just wanted for the public to understand that there's a lot of information that goes into every decision. And so I wanted you guys to all understand the questions I'm asking for that reason, so that you have kind of a background of what goes into it. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else got to make comment? And one thing I should add, Ms. De La Cruz, staff obviously interacts with the applicant. Commission members typically do not. Occasionally, we do get direct input as individuals because we all live in this community and we know know a lot of people. A lot of people know us. More often than not, however, if we get direct communication from an applicant or the representative, we'll share that with our colleagues in an open meeting and make a determination whether it's appropriate to sit here and consider an application or recuse ourselves. The previous action item tonight, our colleague recused herself because she has another duty in the city that requires her to make definitive decisions relative to the application that was before us. So she recused herself so there was no conflict of interest. I point that out so everyone really understands the process. We take our jobs very seriously, and we certainly take conflict of interest as a principal concern. Secondly, I'd like to say that the commission nor the staff advocates for a project. If the project fits within the guidelines, then it's typically recommended. If it doesn't and the applicant wishes to proceed anyway, you'll see a recommendation to deny. We've had that historically as well. This commission does not, and the city does not, select projects. We do not select sites. We do not select applicants. Applicants select their own projects. They acquire their own real estate, either in fee or with an option. They can present anything they want. General plans can be revised, as one of the speakers, I think it was Ms. Grubel, pointed out tonight, that the general plan is a living document. It has flexibility. Property owners have a right to attempt to change the land use as they choose. And to change the land use, typically you must modify the general plan and change the zoning. That's what we have before us tonight, assuming that we want to take that up. But at the very least, property owners have the right to file the paperwork, make their case, and present it to this commission. We do not pick them, nor do we advocate for them. Anything else I've missed? All right. Where were we? Before we had to take a recess, Mr. Little, welcome back. I think you were prepared to respond to some of the questions.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, commissioners. You know, I've been here since 1963, and I've seen it from the freeway being built, riding the motorcycles, the horses, and everything else, and fully understand the concerns of homeowners and everything else. I've seen where it's impeded on housing that I've been in, and we all try to look at locations that we believe fit that description. 20th and L, we believe, fits that description. And the reason why it fits that description is simply because we do have a traffic issue, a speed trap on that area. I'm a firm believer, and we've talked about this before, a firm believer that slowing traffic down should be one of our major concerns. Retail, commercial, slows things down. I believe on the way this particular corner is set up, as far as lighting, aesthetics, I don't believe looking at a custom home on that site is a site that this is desirable for at this point in time. I believe that looking at the center across the street by having development adjacent will revive the center across the street. There's things going on with that. We've looked at the setbacks. We've appeared in front of architectural design that has put more on this particular project, which we're all in agreement with. We believe in trying to make the homeowners that face, and I think there's always going to be an issue along Avenue along Avenue L with the homes that face L coming out. And as things get busier here in the Antelope Valley, which we know they're going to be, I think that's always going to be a concern. How do we slow traffic down? And I believe that putting something on a corner, keep that corner well lit. I travel that corner 3 times, going to my office, coming home from my office, and maybe during the afternoon. I go 20th and L. At night, I agree with the residents. It is a nightmare as far as lighting. I believe that enhancing that corner will slow traffic down. I believe that the way the design is and the way the design has been designed as far as aesthetic-wise, the amount of money going into the property, I think it's going to be a great-looking project. And I believe that there's so many things when you look at the closest facility, barring one, you got 42nd and L gasoline. You have Costco, which is member. We believe that this is, rightfully so, driven for this type of location. And instead of traveling to another location across town, it keeps it where it's supposed to be. You keep your traffic where, slow it down, and it's going to beautify this corner. It's going to lighten it up. It's going to make it a better corner, and hopefully it brings that center back to life. So with that, is there any questions?
Thanks. Let me start over. I'm sorry.
I thought I was going to turn my
I'm
hearing.
sorry. There was a traffic study done which indicated a traffic count into the facility of approximately 2,500, 2,600 trips a day, and peak 250 or more or less in the peak AM, PM. I'm assuming that's a 24-hour estimate. I'll inquire of our city engineer when we get there. My point, however, is assuming that traffic analysis is correct, you folks provided it, so at the request of the city. So, I mean, would you agree that it's pretty accurate? 2,500 more or less?
I would believe it's accurate, yeah.
It's okay. Based on that,
if there's a study that had to be done, yes, sir.
Based on that, what the economic viability has been brought up, what I call the economic viability of the project or the need. Based on that kind of volume of traffic, What kind of a volume of the principal sales are you looking at?
As far as gasoline sales, Mr. Chairman, I would probably think that they're going to be somewhere between the 130 and 175, 150 mark, in that range. I think we could kind of look at the, one of the things that they looked at too.
You want to clarify that? I understand what you're saying, but I don't know the remaining.
I'm sorry. You're talking about gallonage. That's per month, 150,000 gallons a month, you know, and.
So 2 million gallons a year.
Correct, in that range, yeah.
Okay. So where does that come from?
Where does that come from? That comes from a study like on K and 17th, looking at that type of volume at that particular location there.
No, I mean, where do those customers come from? I mean, are they new customers or are they existing in the community?
I think it would be new customers. Wouldn't it be new customers? Because they're coming to this location. You're saving time from them transferring and going to an area that.
I don't know what I'm just asking the question.
Yeah. I think it'd be new customers. Sure, because it's a new location. Yeah,
So those customers didn't purchase fuel anywhere else in the community, but now they're going to come to you?
No, I was referring to the unit itself. So would they be new customers to that unit? Yes. Would they be transferring, maybe they're crossing town, you know? Maybe they're going and turning around and going all the way to 42nd, 45th to get their gasoline. That's the whole point of putting these locations in centralized, to mitigate them crossing.
So would you agree there's a finite amount of fuel sales in the community? And by adding a new operation, you're just diluting somebody else's business?
No.
Well, where's it coming from if it's not coming from somebody else? You just said it was.
I guess we could sit there and say also, too, we have more jobs coming into the area, more residents coming into the area. You know, just like anything else, we're trying to find more housing, more facilities so they don't have to travel across town. The whole part is keeping that business in that centralized area, so they don't have to travel across town.
As I just shared with our members, gasoline sales tax income to the city of Lancaster from service stations is approximately 13.5% of the sales tax revenue that comes to the city, that generates the operation of, and supports the operation of the city. But from what I'm gleaning from you is that if we add a new venue in the same marketplace, that's probably not going to change much.
I don't know if I would use that exactly as a new marketplace, because it is a new marketplace at that location, but we also have more people coming to the area.
Well, our growth hasn't, our population hasn't increased.
As we know, it's coming.
We're not building any new houses, so.
We're trying.
Where are they coming from? Birth rate? Maybe it's a birth rate.
Yeah, maybe. It's coming.
It's an interesting discussion. I'm not convinced. So, obviously this is a very expensive project. You mentioned $3.5 million. I would agree. Somewhere between $3.5–4 million investment.
Yes, sir.
That's a huge amount of an individual's resource. And the operator, the franchisee, operates a number of other facilities in this community and other communities.
Yes, sir.
So
yes, in this community.
They got lots of experience. They know what they're doing.
Yes, sir.
So the economic viability of investing $3.5–4 million of their money or somebody else's money and their liability doesn't come lightly.
Not lightly at all, sir.
Okay. You talked about the speed issues. So it's your position that developing a project on this intersection will reduce traffic speeds?
I'm a firm believer in any type of development off of L. Yes, sir.
Good. A couple of speakers talked about the possibility of benzene and similar products, vapors causing cancer, which, you know, is a proven fact. I wouldn't dispute that. Last time, in December, you talked to us about vapor recovery and how the systems work in modern service stations. What you didn't talk about, however, was how the systems work in modern automobiles that receive the fuel.
Well,
So it's a combination.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
From the refinery to the bulk plant, and from that point, it comes to the project. Then what happens?
Well, it goes to the newer cars now, dating back to 2000, 2002, have systems built in there to recapture, just like one of the people that spoke to this evening said that you take that gas cap off and you hear the fumes release. The newer vehicles have vapor recovery in themselves too, to try to mitigate. You have a phase one, as we know, and a phase two. And then the newer vehicles now are recapturing as much as can be. So the days of the gas stations, mini markets, those that maybe my father used to build back in the day, Mr. Chairman, the ones that you were involved with many years ago, basically those days of recapturing fuel have changed us dramatically as far as AQMD. And AQMD up here is very stringent as far as regulations and keeps accurate records for these locations, and they do a fantastic job. So, I mean, from they're as you know, they have to control from anywhere from dust from tractors in the open fields to what we're doing here this evening. So.
So the Antelope Valley Air Quality Management District then is responsible, the owner-operator is responsible to the Air Quality Management District, our local district, to maintain the plant and equipment to meet the current EPA standards and any modifications there too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's very stringent, yes. It's not like it used to be. It's very stringent, you know, and the way tanks and pumps are designed now, that they're all interchanged with, if there's a leak in the system shuts down. If there's air, the system shuts down. So it all has to do with recovering as much vapor as possible.
All right, thank you. So getting back to the design guidelines. So if I'm clear, your application never addressed the gas station design guideline in the application. You applied with the design that's before us. When I say you, the project.
The project
not
is
you
submitted.
necessarily.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The product, the plans were submitted to the city with the planning and architectural designs overseeing what we needed to do on this particular site. I stand to, as far as safety purposes, as far as some of the new designs that back up buildings to corners. And like I said earlier this evening, it's just not a good safety factor, no matter what business it would be. Sheriff's Department has made it perfectly clear they like to drive by and see within the store. In this particular store, you cannot have banners in the windows. You can't have shrubbery blocking the property. They want to be able to see the facility itself. And that's a safety factor too.
Mr. Little, did Architecture Design Commission address that when you brought this project before them?
I think they addressed it a small bit, if I remember right, and I apologize, Commissioner Smith, but I want to say most of what they were concerned about was the outside buildings with more greenscape as far as lattice and being able to get the vehicles in and out, the setback, the alley part, making sure that the residents to the south of us had plenty of space and green belt there. So they added quite a bit of green belt. Their question too was a lot, if I remember right, some of the architectural design as far as the bricks coming up to a certain point on some of the columns, and why wasn't it all the way up? And some parts weren't. We tried to keep it as uniform as possible. They addressed the windows being in a little bit more recessed in, which are all things that we agree upon.
But not the actual positioning of the
No, I
building.
can't remember if that was addressed much. It wasn't addressed much, if I remember right, and I
I
apologize.
think staff can probably respond to that, but.
So that was addressed in ADC, and they did talk about it, but they did approve the design as it is right now.
Doesn't mean we have to, however. Did you have the site plan up, or floor plan up, please? And then subsequent to that, the elevation. So the floor plan. I don't see any electrical room on that floor plan or switchgear location. Where do you put it?
Could I refer to the architect and the designer, Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Chairman?
Certainly, yeah. I'd come on in and introduce yourself.
Hello, Mr. Chairman. My name is Hector Rodriguez.
Good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Thanks for having me here. To address your question, you see, it's not marked as a storage room right on the plan, but on the left lower corner, that's the switchboard of the controls for the gas and everything for the fuel, which is normally situated in front of the canopy to have a more direct.
No, what I'm asking you about is where your switchgear is. Where's your electrical panels? Where's your electrical room, your low voltage, telephone, all that? Where's that?
It's on the lower corner, on
Is
the
it
left.
inside the building or
Inside
outside?
the building, and the main switch gear is going to be outside.
Say that again?
The switch gear for the complex is going to be outside the building, on the same location.
Bad idea. We don't allow structures outside the building envelope. That's in the design guidelines.
Okay.
Where's the roof-mounted equipment? Is it above the parapet or below it?
No, that's below the parapet.
Guaranteed?
Yes, sir.
You're on record.
Yes, sir.
If it's not, we'll be out there ripping it off.
I know that.
That wouldn't be polite.
No.
So if I'm driving down, if this project gets approved and I'm driving down the road and I look at the building facade from 20th Street or from Avenue L, and I see an air handler sticking up out there above the parapet,
You won't be able to see
I'm not going to see that.
You're not going to see that.
But your elevations don't reflect that. They don't show anything.
Oh, they do. You're just showing the elevations you're not showing the full set of plans, the plans there, where it shows the sections and everything reflecting the height of the parapet, which is mandated by the fire department, which is 36 inches high to cover any existing or any new equipment on this.
So how
stage.
come the canopy doesn't have articulated like the building?
The canopy?
Yeah.
Well, it has the stuck up, stone veneer coming up on the columns.
No, I'm talking about the canopy itself, the cover, the canopy.
Cover, it was approved and by Chevron, according to their guidelines.
So this is the approval place here.
I understand. I understand, sir. I just referred to you.
But you saw the picture of the design guideline that shows fully articulated canopies, right?
Yes, I did.
Any problem designing that?
No. That was recommended by Chevron, not by.
As long as your client agreed,
according
right?
to their guidelines.
But if we tell you got to do it, you can manage that.
Well, we can manage, as far as the owner and the Chevron and everybody else and yourself. And
Oh, Chevron will agree because they've built it before. That's not a problem. They all agree. They don't like it, but they all agree. Right?
Said so, sir.
When I was building them, we didn't like it either.
Nobody likes it. I know. But that's part of of the Chevron guidelines. Chevron has the guidelines for building that they do throughout the whole United States, and we normally base our designs on their recommendations.
Yep.
And we're proposing that design to you, not saying that you have to take it, but we're proposing it.
So no outside structures, everything's enclosed inside the building,
Correct.
whether we see it or not,
Correct.
all right?
Yes.
And no roof-mounted equipment on any structure will be visible
That is
from the street?
No, you want the design for the parapet is normally with a six-foot person at 300 feet away from the building, not to be able to see any equipment coming out from the top.
Right.
That's why it's a screen.
So that's the same as if you're driving, because you're lower than the...
Correct, than 6 foot.
So you did the photometric analysis, or you had it done?
Yes, we did. We had it done and everything, and it's zero spillage.
We appreciate you doing that.
So the
Oftentimes applicants aren't sophisticated enough to do that.
Well, it was addressed on the process by the
Right.
planning department that because we had a little spillage, that it needed to be zero, the spillage into a neighborhood.
What height, or do you recall what height of, because I couldn't see it on the plan, what height the floods are?
The lights that.
Light standards?
Those are 25, if I recall, 25 feet high. But the light drop is only down, it's not an angle or anything to the ground. And
the perimeters have cutoffs?
The cutoffs, the perimeter, I believe we're about 10, 15 feet away from the neighboring walls. And which, with a photometric plan, when we redesigned it, it didn't have any spillage into any of the properties, of the residential properties.
Well, that's what the plan shows.
Correct. But that's supposed to be built that way too.
You're right. I noticed on the land, now you're not the landscape
No.
architect, though.
We just do the conceptual design for the landscape, but the final plans are the landscape architect.
But you did the conceptual and made the modifications
Yeah, with
based
the
on...
main sidewalks to, that was recommended by the
Right.
planning.
Right. I noticed most of the trees are deciduous except for the perimeter, which are evergreen.
Right.
Some of the low plants.
Correct, but those plans are not the final, like I said, the landscape architect is the one that is going to incorporate those to your guidelines and to the drought tolerance.
And the
plants
plant
and
selection.
trees and everything.
Okay? Could we have the site plan up, please? Building A and B, is that what it is there to the north?
That's the pad, retail and drive-through pad.
You have a drive-through with 7 or 8 cars stacking after the, what shall we call it, the order board?
Okay.
Or
Yes.
the location where folks
No.
can order product from their vehicle, assuming that becomes a purveyor of something you can order from your car.
Correct.
That's an assumption because we don't know what's going there, right?
Right.
But the way you've designed it, it would meet the circulation requirement.
For the city guidelines.
What I'm concerned about is the stacking on the west side of where the last car is, or the first car, whichever way you want to call it. It's only 2 car lengths.
Well, according to the city guidelines, we have, that's 7 cars.
Yeah,
go
that
right.
guideline is before the ordering, not after.
Before the ordering.
That's my interpretation, because what happens in purveyors of product like fast food or Starbucks, that kind of a thing, you end up with people hanging out in the driveway or down the street because of the configuration of the driveway.
Like that.
So what you have here is you've got the ability to have 3 cars without encroaching into the parking lot, into the driveway circulation, into the pedestrian access areas. That's a concern for me. I mean, it's great you've got a 7 or 8 car stacking after you order. I mean, that's great for the person's business, should that be a viable business. But what I'm concerned about is how you prevent what we've all seen in very successful businesses.
Correct.
You've seen it too, I know you have, right? You've been in the business a long time. You know, how do you deal with that? How do we deal with that in this situation to allay my concern?
But it all depends on the location of the ordering board. What if I've made you seen at other locations, they don't address that at all, and we did, you know, but they only have like 1 or 2 cars. You have a McDonald's, the driveway, I mean, their ordering location is maybe 2 or 3 cars, you know, you can only put behind it. Starbucks, some locations have it right up front, right when the first car goes right in, and other locations have it like after maybe 4 or 5 cars. I know your concern, and it's a very good point, and if we're trying to incorporate it, we will.
But we built a Starbucks on 10th Street East and Avenue K, and it's got about a 15-car stacking.
Correct.
Before you ever get to the board.
Right, there's a new Starbucks in Irvine too. They have like 200 feet away from the ordering window before you can get to it.
And why did they do that? Because they expect a lot of business. So
we'll hope so.
That would be a concern on this site, and I don't know how we deal with that in this circumstance.
On that one, we show more than 7 cars. That's the length of the driveway is for like 10 plus vehicles. I mean,
Right.
of the drive-through.
From the pedestrian crossing there, the
the
truncated
pickup
domes on.
Right.
Right. No, I see that. I mean, put a scale on it and you can figure it out. I mean, it's not that big a deal. But what I'm concerned about is that if people are accessing off of Avenue L, turning in, either purchasing fuel, which is, you know, an easy circulation, or going into the future building, whatever that may be, and they end up stacking, they're blocking all that non-able-bodied parking, right?
Right, correct.
And, you know, that could be an issue.
We can redesign that. It all depends on where we
But what's
place that.
before, but this is what's before us tonight.
Correct, where we place the ordering board.
Yeah.
That's the key issue, where the ordering board is going to be placed.
You know, we don't want to, we don't make it a habit of negotiating issues across the floor, but it's just, I pointed out for myself and my colleagues. I'm not sure how we deal with it, but our staff will tell us, I'm sure, before we're done tonight.
Chairman Bose,
Go ahead.
I'm also wondering, what did ADC, and this is actually to staff, what did they mention regarding that 4-car stack-up? I mean, did they not address that?
The ADC, I can respond to that. The ADC looked at the entire site design, the building articulation, the landscaping, the perimeter walls, the context. They did a thorough analysis of the entire project and added various conditions of approval that would help improve the overall site design and building aesthetics. There really wasn't a concern around this item, and there wasn't a lengthy discussion, if any at all. It was mostly around the buildings. They did talk about, just to respond to an earlier question, they did talk about the building at the corner, but they didn't seem overly concerned with the way that the site was designed as it is today. I hope that answers that.
It does, but it's not the answer that I guess I was looking for. I just assumed, being a former member of that commission, I would think that's something that we would have looked at right away.
Would that be something the ADC would address, is the stacking? Is
From
that
an
something that
ordinance,
comes
from an
before?
ordinance perspective, it
Right.
should have.
we have 4 former members of the ADC on this commission. 3 of them are here tonight. So, I mean, you think about a lot of things, but it just, you know, we don't have the alternate design in conformance to the guidelines as a comparison. So if you took this site and you conformed to the layout design of a gas station and the ancillary buildings, you would have a different configuration and a different circulation element and different parking. I mean, that's what creator architects do. I mean, they do a very good job, but we don't have that to compare to say, yeah, that design stinks, we like this better, or vice versa, right? Right. And the client, obviously, is the guide. So, anyway.
That wouldn't be an issue, the cars are stacking up. We can place the ordering board on the corner before the pickup window. You still have 3 cars before you get to the window and 7 cars behind the ordering board with the same configuration.
Maybe that's a solution. How do you deal with the, how do they deal with the, let's just say it's a fast food operation that's cooking product. How do they deal, how do we deal with the exhaust emissions?
Oh, you have to have if a fast food place or any restaurant goes in there, you have
Yes.
to comply with a mechanical part, which is, you know, the exhaust ventilation system, which is in compliance with the California Building Code, mechanical code, actually.
And the
It has to
AQMD
be
requirement.
designed to make sure that whatever is going to be exhausted is going to comply with the current.
Right, but they still produce smoke.
Mainly the smoke, let me think. I'm not a mechanical engineer, so I'm trying to think on the system, how it works in my head. But when it's been exhausted, no, it's been filtered. It's been filtered to the canopy hood, which has the baffle filters to make sure that the whatever goes up into the exhaust system is going to be minimized as far as smoke or grease or anything that's going to harm the environment.
Right.
And they normally have to, on top, required by the code, a recipient, you know, to catch any excess of grease that goes into the exhaust, to the ventilation system, which it should be maintained according to the mechanical code every so often, as far as, you know, cleaning the system in case for safety and for environmental contamination, you know, reasons.
So in that building, I mean, that AB building is not really designed as a floor plan that we're considering. That's a future activity.
Correct.
Assuming the project goes forward.
Correct.
So there's no
Specific
accommodation
use.
for
Specific use at this point.
equipment, inside equipment and so forth, in this floor plan.
That is correct.
But you remember what we talked about, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all I have for you. I do have some questions of staff, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for your time.
I should point out, besides the design architect that deals with projects like this or any other projects of this magnitude that comes before this commission, the architect of record has a number of sub-consultants, typically mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, landscape architects, and various other consultants that provide input into the ultimate design that's approved by staff. Mr. Nebula, let's talk about the traffic issues that have been brought up, if you would, please. I know the last time we met here last week, you shared with us the accident ratios for Avenue L. Can we talk about that and all those other traffic issues that you'd like to share?
No problem. So the accident rate along Avenue L is 0.41 accidents per million vehicle miles traveled. The expected rate for a typical corridor like that is 1.15 accidents per million vehicle miles traveled. So we're at approximately a third of what we would expect out there. So it is a lower than expected accident rate. Now, it is a high-speed corridor, so when those accidents or collisions do occur there, they do have a tendency to be severe because of the rate of travel through there. And that is why our master plan of complete streets and some of the other master plans that we've adopted recently are really important, because they implement techniques that are proven to slow people down. Not create congestion, but slow people down. So that's narrowing of the lanes, landscape medians, buffered bike lanes, additional lighting, things that create what we call side friction. Drivers see it, they have a tendency to drive a little bit slower through that particular corridor. In this particular roadway, it is identified to be smaller than what it was once planned when it was the peripheral loop. Here we're 2 lanes, both directions, buffered bike lane. The buffered bike lane will also act as a decel acceleration lane into their driveways. Both of their driveways are right in, right out only, which is a safer movement than allowing any lefts across the high-speed corridor. The city, we also have a project which is slated to start design in July of 2019, so about a year from now, to improve the corridor on Long Avenue L from 15th to 40th, where we're going to be implementing some of the techniques in the master plan at Complete Streets. So we'll be installing, where there's missing sidewalk, there'll be sidewalk, lighting, buffered bike lanes, those types of things to improve the corridor through there.
Notwithstanding this project, that's on the books.
That's on the books irregardless of this project.
Okay. So just to be clear, do we have well, I guess can we see it on this site plan, the street improvements? Or is there there's another sheet, I think, for street improvements. Do we have that?
There is another sheet, but it's not on the PowerPoint.
It's not? Okay, well, I've seen it, I mean, got a copy of it, but, so the 20th Street improvements, proposed improvements include, it's only right in, right out, there's no left turn southbound on 20th.
Correct.
Okay, there's a raised median from the intersection to the south property line.
Correct.
A landscape median?
Where it fits.
It's a landscape median?
Where it fits, yes. But the median narrows to create the left-hand turn pocket onto Avenue L, so through there won't be any landscaping.
Right. And then you have a right turn, well, you have a bike lane and a right turn lane going eastbound on L.
Correct. That right turn lane will ultimately be a shared bike lane. So the bike lane will be striped with, just hashing, dotted.
Like we have now on intersections with bike lanes.
Correct.
So is that considered that would be well, what would you call it going eastbound, an acceleration lane or deceleration lane, depending on where you're coming from?
Yeah, if you're making a right into traffic, acceleration. If you're slowing down to make the right in, deceleration.
Okay. And the street design is 2 lanes east and west, well, it's currently 3 west on the other side, but the master plan for streets will reduce that to 2.
To 2.
Have any idea what the traffic count is out there now?
Around 25,000 ADT, so average daily traffic.
Tell us how traffic speeds are set, would you?
Traffic speeds are set by state law. So state law manual of uniform traffic control devices requires us to set the speed at the 85th percentile, meaning if you have 100 cars It's the speed at which 15 would be driving faster than and 85 would be driving slower than when we conduct a speed survey. We have to conduct that speed survey during free flow traffic, so we can't go out there when it's, there's a traffic jam and take the survey, because that would give us false data. The other thing, we have to hide when we're doing the survey so that we don't influence traffic behavior as well, because we want to make sure we're accurately capturing the speed at which a reasonable driver would drive.
So, we can't, nor the city council can't say, well, we're making the speed limit on that street 35 miles an hour because we want it to be slower.
No, we cannot, which is why the master plan of complete streets is so important, because it allows us to put in engineering techniques that have been known to slow people down, so that the next time we go out and survey it, the speeds come in lower, the 85th percentile, and we can then post the lower speed limit.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to deciding which agendized item we want to hear. Either 4A or 4B. And consider. Unless anyone has any more questions or comments from staff. Ms. De La Cruz, do you have anything you want to add before we consider which item we're going to vote on tonight?
There's nothing to add. I believe you commented and you heard everything you had to hear tonight.
All right. Just want to make sure that we got all the community questions addressed. I don't know if I got them all. Now, noise was mentioned, however, it wasn't identified what specific noise. There was a noise analysis done, which we reviewed in the environmental document that talks about ambient noise and site-generated noise during construction, as well as site-generated noise during operation. And the highest noise producers are during construction, which is common. No matter where you build, you're going to have construction noise, which is intermittent and short duration. And then you have site-generated noise that must not exceed 65 decibels at the property line. And that noise study has demonstrated that. There's no equivocation there, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Okay. So, the public hearing is still open on both matters. The chair would be in a position to consider a motion if anyone cares to offer one. Oh. All right then. No one wishes to offer a motion on 4A? No. All right then. We'll move to 4B. Anyone have any questions about 4B? The major concern I've raised is design relative to the canopy treatment. My preference is to see that canopy articulated to meet the building design, assuming the project goes forward. I don't know if anybody else agrees with me, but
I'd like to ask the applicant their
go ahead.
Opinion on that.
I have the design here.
You have the design, Mr. Chairman? Okay. So the rendering is what you see there, whatever concerns that the Planning Commission would have, I know that when we looked at this whole project and we were taking into consideration planning and architectural design and the standard by USA. Yeah, the columns in there, that was addressed, the columns, the brick columns in the center. So I'm assuming you're referring to the canopy around, the rendering, what could look like as far as
Look like the rest of the building.
It's an option. We've been very amicable as far as trying to get this project going through forward, so it is an option. I mean, we've been to you with planning and architectural design, so we're back to you.
So what was your question, Mr. Mercer?
Do you object having that as a condition?
Just, is it an objection or not? Okay.
If you're going to talk to us, come to the podium. Tell us who you are, and we'll be happy to hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is David Shamsian. I'm the developer of the property. And we spoke with the Architectural Commission regarding this. And Ms. Donovan suggested that we'll have a roof-tiled canopy for the articulation, as you said, as you're discussing. And at the end, we agreed that being that the rest of the buildings on the property is kind of a flat roof with parapet walls, and being that this is a chevron canopy, and we did the stones on the bottom, because chevron canopy usually the way it's done, it's like a sheet metal, gray, round columns that go around the bottom of the columns with their, they have a POP cabinet that goes on the bottom of that. So we agreed to do the stack stone to match the rest of the building. And as far as the canopy goes, it's not a flat-faced canopy. It has articulation, so there are places which it comes out, it goes back in. It's a beautiful canopy.
So it doesn't look like the building facade, though. Could you put up the architect's design? No, the ADC design. that demonstrates, not that, but demonstrates a chevron canopy that matches the building facade.
Then it won't be a chevron canopy.
Oh, yes, it will. And it could be mobile, it could be anything. You'll see it when you see it.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, did you want the rendering or did you want to
No, I
see
know
the
what
design
that looks like.
guideline?
I want the page 92 of the architect design guideline.
To clarify, did Sylvia Donovan tell you, what did she tell you?
No, at the end, we agreed to leave the canopy the way it is. They approved the project as is, with some, landscape upgrades and, some more lattice on the building with some additional moldings, and they approved it as is.
Ms. Campana, do you have a pointer? Could you give it to me, please? That one right there, huh? Is it working? Well, that part's working. Now, you see that canopy right there? And you see the logo right there? If you can't see it, walk over and look at it.
We can see it.
What does it say? What does that one say? It says Chevron, right there. How about that? I'm not smoking anything funny.
No, but how old is that picture?
Does it matter?
Yes, it does matter.
You want to argue with me?
No,
Oh,
Mr.
good.
Chairman, I don't want to
That's
argue
good.
with you.
The less said, I think, the better. Because frankly, this is the design we have approved in the past, and that's what we want. That's what I want, but that's not what you presented. Okay? So now you're going to whine about a canopy. The answer is yes, that's the canopy I'll build. Wouldn't you agree?
Mr. Chairman, you want that canopy to match the building, correct?
Yeah, that's what the architect design guidelines say.
So,
I mean, we ought to play the game the way the cards are dealt, shouldn't we?
We thought we have been, sir. So, that canopy.
Maybe my
that
colleagues won't agree, but that's my position.
I'm sorry, sir?
I say, maybe my colleagues won't agree, but that's my position.
I think that having the canopy match the building as we see on this wouldn't match that.
No, not that.
Okay.
Match your building.
Yeah, okay.
The building design, not, so if you look at the building design in the background, you'll see that that roof line matches the building design. That's the purpose of the design guideline. And if you read line 3, that's what it tells you. That's why we have the guidelines. It's like the landscape guidelines. Why do we have those? You're conforming to those.
Can we see the picture that you have at the podium? Thanks. I think I'm good with this. I have my glasses on, so. Thanks.
Thank you. You have anything you want to add? Ms. Smith?
No, I can see what you're saying now. I mean, is the problem with Chevron wanting their canopies branded? I mean, I guess that's my question.
The problem is this. Chevron wants their own canopy lighted so you can see it from a mile away.
But they will bend.
And in our communities and in other communities, the reason you have the design guidelines is so the building conforms and you mount the logo, lighted logo, just like you see here, and you can see it just fine. Does Chevron like to do it? No. Does it cost more money? Yes. Will they say to the franchisee, we're not going to allow you to build it that way? No.
Okay. That's
If
my
they do,
question.
they can come back and tell us that.
Thank you.
Anything else from anyone? What's your pleasure, folks? We're on 4B.
A procedural question along those lines.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman or staff, if we were to adopt this with the requirement per our design guidelines, and that created an issue for the applicant with his franchise, would he have to pay an appeal to bring it back?
I doubt it.
I think the question is, do you anticipate it causing a problem with the franchise? That's kind of what I started with at the beginning. If he doesn't feel that there's going to be a problem, if it's going to be, if they will, or if they have historically worked with the franchisee with cities that have those?
There's that, but also just, let's say there is a problem. Is by us taking an action on it going to cost more money for the applicant as opposed to waiting? And I guess that's a question for staff and a question for the applicant.
Well, I think bringing it and making a decision, whatever the commission's choice would be, comes under us at getting with Chevron and needs to work out if it's necessary for this project to move forward. I mean,
There's your answer.
Pardon me?
Condition it the way we feel is appropriate. Is that what I heard?
You're hearing it, sir.
I'll move we adopt staff recommendation with the added condition that the canopy conform with the design guidelines.
A second.
That's on 4B, right?
4B.
4B. Okay, so that's approving the conditional use permit to allow the construction and operation of the gas canopy island car wash facility, oil and lube building, commercial pad, and mini mart, allowing the sale of beer and wine for off-site consumption, with a waiver for the distance requirements, adopting a mitigated negative declaration, and recommending approval of the general plan amendment 1701 and excuse me, not that. I can't even read. I'm reading the wrong one, I beg your pardon. B, 1810, not 1809. I beg your pardon. Adopt resolution 1810 approving conditional use permit 1711 to allow the construction and operation of the gas canopy island car wash facility, oil and lube building, commercial pad, mini mart, allowing the sale of beer and wine for off-sale consumption Type 20 California State Alcohol Beverage Control ABC license with a waiver from distance requirements and adopting a mitigated negative declaration. And adding the condition that the canopy structure conform to the design guidelines, the city's design guidelines. Okay, that was the motion. I thought I heard a second. From Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman,
second
at this time, it would be appropriate to close the public hearing before you vote, please?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
I just want to make sure we're not having any more testimony before we get there. Okay? So, we're clear? Any other comments, questions, anything? Please vote. You know, at another time, we'd vote like they do at the House, where everybody gets to stand up and cast their vote, but we don't do it that way here.
Motion passes 4-2.
All right, thank you. Any reconsideration from the majority? Nope, none. All right then. The project is approved, conditioned upon the City Council's approval of the general plan revision and zone change, or an appeal filed by anyone within the appropriate time frame. Thank you all for your efforts tonight, both pro and con. And I did close the public hearing. Maybe. All right, next item is item 5.
You know, yeah, I was gonna ask we go ahead to 2 since Mr. Padmanabhan was.
Oh, say yeah? Oh, I didn't see
Whereas
it.
5 is just a policy.
Ah, okay. We're right with you, hang on. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. Thank you. We'll go back to item 2, which is the one-year extension on tentative track map 69578. Was to grant a one-year extension, which is the final extension. Okay? And Mr. Padmanabhan? So are you okay with the conditions as recommended by staff?
Yes.
Perfect,
Thank you.
perfect. Right answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Anything further from anyone? Close the public hearing on that item and consider a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to grant a one-year extension to March 15th, 2019, based on the findings contained in the staff report and subject to the conditions list attachment to resolution number 10-07.
Second?
I'll second. Oh.
Who did? Cook? Okay. All right, thank you. He's out of here. All right, please vote. Thanks for reminding me. I'm
Motion passes 6-0.
trying to get to the end here. All right, item 5 is a public hearing on the amendment to section 17.40.210 of the Lancaster Municipal Code relating to the off-premises outdoor advertising signs. And we had some modifications distributed as well. So the public hearing is open. Don't see too many people here.
And there are no speakers on this item.
We heard that, we had our questions asked and answered at our previous meeting. Staff need to add anything to that?
There's nothing to add other than the little tweaks that were made, and that's about it.
All right, very good. Anybody have any questions of staff? All right, let's close the public hearing, consider a motion.
Move adopt resolution number 18-11, recommending to City Council approval of an amendment to section 17.40.210 of the Lancaster Municipal Code relating to off-premises outdoor advertising signs.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, anything further? Please vote.
We're still missing 2 votes. Commissioners Moore and Smith. Thank you.
Was she pointing at you, Mr. Moore? She was.
I said, you didn't vote, and I looked up and I thought, well,
Motion passes 6-0.
You're getting rummy. Can't be. 6-0, thank you. All right, last item, or one-year extension. The public hearing's open on vesting tentative tract map, or parcel map, I'm sorry, 67494. Do we have any speakers on this? No? Do we have
No speakers.
any additional staff report? No? Okay. Without objection, we'll close the public hearing, consider a motion.
Make a motion that we grant a 1-year extension to April 21st, 2019, based on the findings contained in the staff report and subject to the conditions list attachment to resolution number 08-11.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. Thank you. All right, please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. All right. Commission agenda, or community, Ms. De La Cruz, first. Anything you care to offer us tonight?
I did want to provide an update on the Valley Fever presentation that we've had a couple of discussions over the last few months. We're trying to coordinate with a representative of the LA County Public Health Department. Unfortunately, they do not typically do nighttime meetings. They only hold meetings during the day, and so they're trying to accommodate our request.
So 5 o'clock is too late for them? It's nap time?
5 p.m. is outside of their regular business hours.
Oh, my.
They are open to joining us at our agenda review, which is a little bit earlier.
At 4:30?
At 4:30. And so they are willing to make the presentation during that time slot.
So do the county provided Priuses quit running at 5 p.m.?
I'm not sure that's the case. I know that they come from downtown LA. Another thing they mentioned as well is that they're trying.
We're having too much fun with this.
I can see that.
Well,
I'm a state employee, and that's disappointing.
yeah, it is. It really is. I thought you were joking, but I know you're not.
No, I'm not joking. They're also trying to pull together the appropriate team. They want to make sure that they have the right folks, since they've done these presentations enough during the day where questions come up. And so they want to have a member of environmental health available to attend that same evening. Currently, we're looking at the June agenda review time slot. Hopefully, they could make that work. And so I've made some progress in convincing them to come out.
Part of the concern was that the general public have an opportunity to hear and participate. And since our agenda reviews aren't televised, then the public won't get the information. And how do we do that?
Well, would it be possible to start our regular meeting an hour earlier for the purpose of that presentation? We can withhold our business until our normal 5 o'clock time, but that would give, I think, plenty of time. The presentation, as I understand, is 20 to 30 minutes, but then would give the public time to ask questions of the presenters, too.
That's definitely an option. That would depend on your availability to be here earlier. We can definitely make that happen.
Hmm?
I won't be here in June.
Oh, good to know.
What, are you going on a holiday?
I'm going on an Alaskan cruise, right, yeah, it's gonna hit both of them.
Oh, me too, but I'm not going in June. Maybe I should.
Oh, no, it's July, I'm sorry.
See?
Never mind, in July, I'll be here. Wishful thinking.
Well, if everybody agrees, 4 o'clock, can you do that?
What date are we talking?
That would be June whatever.
I just need to make sure I'm not on travel. I just need to know what date that is. 11th?
June 11 is agenda review. Something we can also do if you choose to hold it during agenda review is we can blast it out to our network and coordinate with our communications department to make sure that it's out and the community would have an opportunity to join us at agenda review. That's an option. If not, the regular Planning Commission meeting in June would be on the 18th.
As of this 5 minutes, I am not on travel.
Oh, their phone ring.
I make that statement with prejudice.
Okay. All right. Well, let's try to do it at, well, we'd have, yeah. We'd have to adjourn the June 11th meeting to 4 o'clock on the 18th, if that, in fact, is in agreement with everybody. I have no problem with that. Does that work for you guys? Okay. All right.
Okay, so for now, we'll go ahead and plan for June 18 at 4 p.m.
Okay.
I thought it was the. That's the agenda.
That's agenda review.
So at 4 for the agenda review?
No, no, no. 4 for the regular meeting on the 18th.
Right.
Okay, got it.
So agenda,
I'm sorry, when the agenda review is adjourned, the chairman will note that the June 18th meeting will convene at 4 o'clock.
The vice
not
chairman
5
will.
o'clock.
I won't be here that day.
Very well.
I think I mentioned that we have a couple of new assignments. Shopping carts regulations, and I mentioned to you the city attorney had shared a draft shopping cart regulations. Do we have the photos? We can pop up? What do you do? Which one? That one? That one? Not working. Well, operator error, that's the problem. Ah, there we go. There you go. You fix it. Get a young person to do it. Ah, there you go. The city council, well, that's, City Council suggested that the Planning Commission come up with solutions for cleaning up the shopping cart proliferation around the community. As I understand it, the city, here's some photos. As I understand it, the city pays a private entity to go off around the community and pick up annually between 5,000 and 6,000 carts. I took some time, and I got a list of locations where they pick up, and then I went to other locations where they don't pick up. You see in this case, this happens to be Target, and I'm not picking on Target, it just happens to be one of the one of the sites. This is a half a mile away from Target, this location. You can see down in the area where the channel is, the carts and the trash and all the rest of it. Target does not have electronic wheel stops in their system. Neither do most or some of the supermarkets. They either pay for or ignore the loss of carts off-site. Lowe's does not have wheel stops, but the supermarket next door does. So I sit in the parking lot and watch people take their cart from the supermarket to where the wheels stop, go get the Lowe's cart, take the merchandise out of the supermarket cart, put it in the Lowe's cart, and then wheel it over to their enclosed apartment complex. I mean, I get it, you know. Why wouldn't they? I mean, you know.
Everybody has a cart in that shop.
Yeah, I mean, it's an issue. It's a community issue. It's not just homeless. I mean, homeless is a portion of it, but you know, like Walmart is the biggest. I won't call them offenders because they have electronic wheel stops that we've imposed as this commission on development, right? I mean, we make it a requirement, and they put it in. How they maintain it and who oversees that on the part of the city, I've yet to figure out. But Walmart has a couple of thousand per site that are picked up every year, even though they have wheel stops. I don't know how they trick it. And then you have somebody like Target, which the city doesn't pick up. Anyway, it's a mess. My guess is there's probably 10 to 15,000 carts a year that are taken off-site and have to be retrieved somehow.
Would it be within the scope of a shopping cart policy also to take a look at the number of shopping cart returns that are required on new developments?
Probably. Well, and also, I mean, I think we have the right, or the city council has the right to impose a recovery system or a wheel stop system on existing facilities that don't have it within the city. I mean, it's an expense, but basically it's you saw cut around the perimeter of your property and they lay a device under the asphalt, under the concrete, and then install the wheel stops on the carts, but they need to be maintained. I met with a company which happened to be out on a project site that were repairing carts. And I asked the guy, he said, you know, people take two carts and take the wheels off one and put it on the other and bypass the wheel stop. How, you know, I don't know, whatever. Well, not customers necessarily, but people that need carts to transport their goods. Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, it's a mess out there, and if you go, you know, I don't know what the solution is, but I can sure tell you there's a problem. That's for sure. Plus the city resources. I mean, you have code enforcement involved. You've got a lot of stuff, a lot of issues. And part of what exacerbating the problem is the other photo. No, back it up. There, yeah, the one on the right, those are so-called charity clothing drop-off locations. So people, either they're full or somebody's dumpster diving on them, you know, typically homeless people who are looking for clothing and whatever, and shoes and whatever. But that's, I think I had one other picture maybe. Yeah, there you go. That's another one. The one on the right is the trash enclosure next to Salvation Army. And, you know, people show up and they just throw stuff on the ground when the facility's closed. I don't know how to deal with that. Anyway, that's our assignment, to solve those things, okay? And if you haven't got enough to do with that, we also have another assignment to evaluate residential development impacts adjacent to the freeway under health and safety for motor vehicle fumes that are harmful to residents who reside near freeways. And what are we going to do with our development patterns to address that?
Dare I ask, what is the difference? I mean, I sort of know what the difference would be. This is almost a rhetorical question. So we just approved something in which there were concerns about fumes. Shall I stop now before I insert both feet, or? So what are we looking to do?
Beats me. I'm just
The purveyor of the message. Understood.
sharing information with you. And one might also carry it forward and say, well, gee, it's not just residential folks that live near freeways that may be impacted health and safety-wise by motor vehicle fumes or diesel truck fumes or whatever. What about people that work there, and office space and hospitals and places like that? I don't know. Anyway, if we haven't got enough to do, we got that to work on. Anything else for the good of the group?
What is our estimate?
Well, I think we can bring a draft ordinance forward by next meeting if it fits in the agenda, because we have a draft that you're comfortable with that we can tune up, right, Ms. Corbett?
Absolutely. If I know, Chairman Bose, that we did share that draft ordinance with you. Unless you had some serious concerns one way or another, what I would like to do is work with Ms. De La Cruz and her staff to do a little further research on if there are more current technological methods of containment and retrieval or recovery. I don't know anything about the industry, but maybe we can do a little research on that, and if so, then we might want to throw something about that into the ordinance. We can also just keep it very general, and then those could be specific conditions as you approve and as we require retrofitting at existing stores. So I'll be happy to bring the draft to the June meeting, and then we can discuss and revise as necessary.
Would there be a way to work some sort of a financial assessment into the regulation if the city ends up having to retrieve carts and return them for, an expense, not just the cost, but, you've got staff time, you've got all sorts of things that we can assess those retailers who don't have a way to control the proliferation of carts being removed from their premise.
We could certainly look into that. I can tell you, just FYI, currently, I think the current contract, it is $3.50 per cart.
Plus, somebody's got to administer that
Right.
and deal with it.
Plus, just to throw this in, I know it's late, our current contractor for shopping cart retrieval will not go onto private property to take a cart, even if it's undeveloped private property and they know that it's just been occupied by squatters of any sort. I've been working with public safety on trying to get property owners of undeveloped, particularly undeveloped property, to sign essentially an approval pre-authorizing the city to remove any shopping carts that are on their property that happen to be found. We generally have them sign a letter of agency authorizing the sheriff's department to arrest anybody on the premises. At the same time, we are starting to ask them to sign the authorization to take off the carts because it just looks awful. It just looks horrible. So those are some stopgap measures. But I can certainly look into cost recovery as part of the ordinance. We can absolutely look into that.
So the cart retrieval companies, If they don't go on private property, where are they picking them up? A public sidewalk?
Yeah, sidewalks, other parking lots, what have you. Yes, sidewalk,
But
streets.
the or the parking lot's private property. What you're saying, like homes and apartments and
And
that?
undeveloped property.
Oh, undeveloped.
I don't know why they won't, but they won't.
So that explains why I was just telling my fellow commissioner over here that I had seen this Target red cart for 4 weeks. It was in the middle of a field, and it was loaded with something, and I thought, why isn't someone picking it up? But that explains it. Private property.
And I can tell you the other thing that, that Mr. DeRico and his people are doing, and the sheriff's department as well. If there are people who seem to have confiscated a shopping cart for storage of personal items, as some sort of quasi-permanent personal item storage piece, that is theft. I don't know that a shopping cart costs more than $950, and if it doesn't, then it's just a misdemeanor, and it's always going to be a misdemeanor, but it's still theft, and it still is a crime, and so we are trying to address it that way as well.
You shared something with me about evicting folks, that they have to be given notice if they're in the tunnels, for instance, in the flood control channels or whatever.
Yes, and
Listen
I
to this
don't,
one.
yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know all of the particulars, but I do know that Mr. DeRico and his people give, I believe it's generally 14-day notice, and they go out and they verbally say if they can post, if there's someplace to post, they go out and remind over and over again, so that on the 14th day, their personal items need to be gone or they're being taken. And court law has upheld that that is sufficient notice to give somebody regarding their personal items.
Who enforces that, and what happens if the person doesn't leave? What's the?
The Sheriff's Department and the Public Safety Department address that in whatever manner is most appropriate under the circumstances. Sometimes people are arrested if they are obstructing the cleanup. Sometimes they're just told to move on, and they do. It just depends on the circumstances. If you get somebody with mental illness, it's going to escalate to something else and then become a law enforcement issue of some form or another. I did want to just add very briefly, with respect to the donation bins, the collection donation bins, the last couple of years, Public Safety and I have been working very closely on trying to abate those whenever possible. There are a lot of donation bins that are for charities that don't even exist anymore. The DARE program has been out of what existence for a decade at least, maybe more. And yet we still see, yeah, the DARE, the red DARE ones. So we're confirming with the private property owner, the business owner, what have you, that they don't approve of the bin. We post it. We give them 10 days to move it, or actually with the bins, we give them 48 hours, and then we take it and we impound it at the yard, at the maintenance yard. If it's encroaching into public property, we take it immediately and we post on a wall wherever possible to let them know where they can come get it. It will be impounded. They will have to pay for the costs of recovery and impoundment.
So if private property owners allow it on their property, but don't maintain it, is there something that currently can be done?
Well, yes, just under our general property maintenance guidelines, that is a public nuisance subject to abatement in one form or another. We can address it administratively, civilly, criminally. There's some pending court cases that the lower courts have suggested that a donation bin is a First Amendment issue. So,
Kind of like a trash receptacle?
because it has lettering on it. So currently, the guidelines by the League of California Cities suggests that you should allow them to a certain degree, but very strictly regulate. I really don't want to get to that point yet. I'd kind of like to see how the court cases play out at the upper courts and see if somebody with some sense realizes that, sorry, I'm editorializing, but that's just absurd. So we'll keep you apprised of that, but we are trying to be a little more aggressive and assertive in cleaning them up as quickly as we can.
Well, if they all went away and nobody complained, where's the harm? Isn't it better to ask forgiveness than permission?
As a general rule, I would say yes, except, we are a litigation-happy society, and so I don't know that Lancaster wants to put its big toe in the water first. I think.
There's a lot of kneelers upstairs, okay? Forgiveness, or permission, come on, think about it.
I know where that's going.
We have simple solutions to complex problems, right? All right, thank you. Anything else from anybody? Let's call her tonight. Public business from the floor is no public. So we're adjourned for agenda review on June 11th, 2018, here at 4:30 p.m. Thank you all.